Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Show. I'm Ann Alvarez, parent coach, school counselor, and mom of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you sometimes get frustrated because your kids won't do what you ask them to do? Maybe you become really irrational, or you yell at your children, or you get frustrated or irritated by them. Well, parents, I know what this feels like. I also have struggled with my parenting, and I came from childhood pain. And that childhood pain really did affect my parenting because when we come from childhood pain, we do not know what is healthy and what is not healthy. And so this show is for you, parents. This show is about healing and it's about being a relational parent so that you can feel good about your parenting, build connection with your kids, and foster healthy relationship through communication and connection. Join me every week, every Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we will delve into this parenting journey together. Welcome, parents, to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I am so excited today because I have a special guest. His name is Christian Armstrong. Now, Christian is a professional speaker and actor who is a huge advocate for autism. Being diagnosed with autism at 7 years old, he was told by a lot of doctors that he couldn't achieve a lot, including his dreams and goals for his life. He now helps kids, families, teens, and adults reach their fullest potential and wants nothing more to see them all succeed. Welcome, Christian. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, I'm going to start with the first question. My first question is, what is your experience with autism?
So my experience with autism is before I was diagnosed is I wasn't very good with social cues. I wasn't very personable. I believe it or not, when it came to my parents engaging with me, I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't say I wouldn't be able to. I had a hard time looking them in the own eye, making eye contact. And with verbal communication, which I still do struggle with a lot, was very hard and severe at a young age. In fact, a lot of individuals thought that I could be nonverbal, and in a lot of ways, I still was because it was very one-worded or two-worded answers. I wouldn't really speak much. It was no eye contact, one-word answers, and when when my parents figured that let's go take him in and to get a diagnosis, we think he might have something, and they find out that I was diagnosed with autism. It was a big shock, of course, and that was where the doctors told me like, you can't do all these things. So that was my experience, just basically being stereotyped and labeled limited.
So you heard this messaging like at age 7 that you're gonna have problems, you won't be able to achieve a lot.
Yeah.
Is that so then as a 7 year old, how did you internalize that? Did it help affect your self-esteem?
Yes, it did. But I wasn't all really, it was kind of vague. I don't really remember much of the meetings with the doctors. I know the doctors were more so talking towards my parents, which I wasn't really processing a lot what was going on. And then my parents would communicate that same information back to me.
Wow. So what do you think are the challenges that autistic children face?
That could range through a lot depending on the person. I know a big one for most kids and individuals on the spectrum would be social cues and communication. A lot of kids deal with not knowing what to say or when to say certain things, or especially making eye contact. A lot of it too would be uh, verbal communication with when someone's saying something to you, you don't know how to internalize or process it. Another one would be a lot of kids sometimes fidget. They don't know how to remain still. I know for me, which something I really struggled with and still do struggle with is like hand flapping. Is you flap your hands when something gets you really excited. That was something that I really struggled with and still do. Um, but yeah, it could range from a whole bunch of things. I wouldn't say that one thing is stereotyped for all autistic individuals. I would say because you can't really say, oh, that's autism. Autism is different for everyone. But
Okay.
that's just a couple examples where I would say that those are things you could be looking for, but don't make that the say all end all. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes. And then when just going back to the doctors, like, did the doctors give your parents any kind of advice or like strategies to help you?
Yes, actually, the one big thing that they did say for the doctor said in order for your son to succeed, well, I don't know if they really said the word succeed, but in order for him to cope, basically, is we recommend that you put your son in swimming lessons and equestrian riding horses. Now, not discounting that if that's what you like to do, awesome. If that's your passion, great. I didn't have a passion for any of those two things. So to tell me that that's what you got to do, it's kind of like, well, no, I'm a big advocate for you follow your dreams, you follow your heart.
Yes.
So I I didn't for me it was I didn't care what it took. If it was going to take me years and years to achieve something and do something, even if it's going to be a massive struggle, I wanted to do something that was going to make me driven and passionate, not something where I'm just not going to care much about.
Totally makes sense. I'm actually I have a question mark about the doctor. Like, what is the doctor thinking? I don't
I
know.
know. No, I agree. It's, but that was also, I heard from a few teachers when I went to go speak some of my messages at the schools where that was back when autism was not talked about as much. Like when I think I got diagnosed back around 2001, like autism was looked upon like a whole new ball game than it
Yes.
is now in 2023. Like in 2023, we like to say, well, if you have autism, who knows what you're capable of? In 2001, I heard it was more so kind of like, well, he or she can't do this. Well, they're weird, they're limited like that. It was all labels back then.
Yes, yes. I think we've come so far in our knowledge, right? And the
Yeah,
range and the range and of abilities and all of that. I think it's so good. It's so much better than it ever was, you know? So that's really great.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get back to your parents here. How did your parents give you support through your challenges?
So they they actually wanted to see my dreams come to life. It was awesome because they worked on strategies that people would say, how do I put this? In order for kids with autism, in order for them to go to school and strategies and tips for them, like my parents would do like a lot of playing with me with as well as teachers and EAs in school. They would say, case, for example, they'd be like, if I was a student or if I was a teacher and you were coming up to me, how would you go about that? And they would practice social cues with me.
Wow.
So they would practice a lot of tips and give me some advice in order for me to, kind of cope in the real world of society who doesn't know as much about autism. But they would also ask me, like, what do you want to achieve? What are your dreams and aspirations? And I would tell them, and they would be behind it full throttle, which I think is really cool because not all parents are like that when they find out their kid has autism.
I think it's so amazing. Like they really did not take the doctor's, uh, messaging that, you can't achieve a lot. They didn't really actually take that because they're encouraging you. They're like, we're going to teach him social cues. We're going to teach him what he needs to know in the real world. And also, we're going to support his dreams and his goals, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
that is such ultimate parenting. Like, I really want to meet your parents now. Like, I'm so, so, so impressed with that. That is so incredible that you had that supportive environment, and that,
Absolutely.
yeah, and they gave you that. That's so awesome. Okay, so my question is, what advice would you give to parents of autistic children?
My best advice would be is explore different hobbies, explore different passions. And as hard as it is, because we're all guilty of this, and coming from me, I'm guilty of this basically almost every day, every week. But that being said, be okay with being willing to fail a bunch of times. Is, you know, where I am today speaking here on this podcast with you and to a bunch of your viewers, you know, 20 years ago, I would never dream or never think of doing something like this. It's such a cool opportunity, and I wouldn't be able to look in the camera and be talking to you right now, like not one chance. It's because I took baby steps
Hmm.
and I took everything one step at a time. And when I did fail, it was like, this really sucks. And I'm really kicking myself right now. And I did for years, but I kept going and I kept got back up and kept going. Is, you know, with that being said too, celebrate the small wins.
Yes.
Is even if it doesn't seem like a lot, even if your brain or your friends or even your family or whoever, teachers, if they look at it as, well, this is a big negative here,
Mhm.
if you really look close enough, because your mind is a powerful tool and a powerful thing, is I guarantee you can find at least one positive in there. You can
Wow.
find one, even if, even if it's just an example here, even if it's just as simple as I got out of bed this morning. You realize
Yes.
how many kids who deal and suffer from depression and mental health have a hard time just getting out of bed? Like I suffered with depression for so many years and still do sometimes. But the fact that I was just able to get out of bed and say, I'm going to go to school today, that was a small win.
Amazing. I know. I think when we're struggling, we need to be kind to ourselves. And it resonates with me, your messaging about taking baby steps and celebrating those baby steps because those baby steps add up to bigger steps down the road. So I think that's so amazing, like for parents to know that if you have a child with autism, that you need to celebrate all those baby steps because those are going to add up to something amazing down the road, right?
So
That's
true.
yeah, that is exactly like your messaging is so so true and so to the heart. Okay, I want parents to know what you do, how you help kids, just for their information. So you
Of
do
course.
some talking, right?
Yeah, so believe it or not, speaking is I'm still pretty new, still getting going. I've done a couple gigs. What I've
Yes.
done so far is I've spoken at a few middle schools and a few high schools, and I give about a 35 to 45 minute message where I talk a little bit about my testimony, my story, of course, where autism has gotten me to today. And what I do is I share a new perspective about autism and how we should be focusing not so much on the disability, but how autism is more of a different way of learning. How we should be focusing on what autism does bring and what people stereotype on autism. Because, yeah, a little rant somewhat about it is I understand the logic on why autism is considered a disability. I don't fault anyone for believing in that. If that's what you want to believe, fair enough. I can see why you believe that. But I I challenge anyone if they want to have an open mind about it is I I encourage them to maybe consider maybe it's not because that's what I believe and speak on is and I don't want to have an argument about it with anyone. It's more so of we were born and we were created to be completely different and unique individuals. We bring a total different perspective and gift and help everyone totally uniquely and can support others in different ways that others may not be able to as well. So if you have autism like I do, there are still a lot of things you can do that people with autism may not be able to do that you can. It's a
Yes.
different it's a different perspective that you bring to the table. So if there's a strength that you have and you're autistic, that's not a disability. A disability is saying you can't do something. There's a lot of things you can do and still have autism.
Yes. I totally agree. I'm so inspired by you, Christian, because I love the way that you have reframed your autism. Because when we reframe things in our mind, we are empowered, right? If we see ourselves as we have a disability, we can't do things, then we are disempowered, we are weakened, we are unable to reach our full potential. So, everything you're saying so speaks to me in my role as a parent coach, because this is what I believe is that we need to have our children rise to what they are truly meant to be and what they're capable of and not limit them. So, thank you so much for your inspirational story and for helping us to understand more about autism. I want to just do a little recap, parents. I want you to know that it's not a disability, it's a different way of your child processes and is in the world. And there's nothing wrong with it. And we can help our kids to rise to their full potential, no matter how they come to us. So I want you to have an open mind with your kids. And if you could model like Christian's parents in the support and repetition and doing the things that you know he will need or she will need down the road as adults, like I think that is so impactful and so powerful. Thank you, parents, so much. Thank you, Christian, so much. I really appreciate you sharing all your story and your thoughts about this. I think it's going to be so helpful for parents. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. It helps get me out there, share more of my story, and it helps me inspire more families and helps more kids and more adults who are on the spectrum because, you know, I do help kids and share my story with kids who do have autism, but we also forget that kids grow into adults, and there's still a lot of adults who have autism that's not talked about as much too. So this
Absolutely.
story this my story and my message is for everyone, young and old.
Wow. That's very inspirational. Thank you so much for coming today. And parents, I want to thank you also for listening in. I hope that this has been helpful and inspiring to you as well. All right. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Hello, parents. Thank you for joining today. You know, parenting is tough and we need all the support we can get. My goal and my mission is to help parents. So reach out for support. I do parent coaching. I also have a course on Teachable that will teach you how to connect, how to communicate, and how to heal the pain that you've endured as a child. If you want support, please message me. All my links are provided with the show, and I look forward to working with you. Thanks for joining today. Take care, parents. You know I love you.